What's the first thing that you think of when you hear like someone's a Republican or something like that?
I think about rednecks and racists.
Not necessarily to be a bad guy, but, you know, against gay marriage and against abortions. I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Like a rich old guy with too much money.
To me, being a Republican comes down to two things. The first is economically. We disagree with liberals or Democrats in that they're much more tax and then spend, whereas I think Republicans take a stance where the federal government is more of an impedance to the free market. And the second would be on different moral values. And this kind of gets into a gray area because there are different, there's a whole spectrum of conservatives, you know, the very extremes, and then I'm more moderate myself. But I think that as far as Republicans go, we tend towards traditional family values more than a Democrat does.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily define myself outrightly as a Republican. However, I do identify with a lot of their principles, specifically economic principles. So I identify mostly with more like the Libertarian Party, which I see sort of like as an extension of promoting things like conservative economics with socially liberal policies. So allowing, you know, gay marriage, allowing abortion, but still being responsible and trying to seek to maximize the freedoms of people in order to promote their economic well-being, rather than creating social programs that may or may not be beneficial in the long term.
So I'm a moderate Republican. I'm definitely a fiscal conservative. Right, I believe in supply-side economic policies over demand-side. But I am more socially left. Right, I am not as conservative as many people are in the Republican Party when it comes to things like gay marriage and abortion.
I would define being a Republican as having more conservative views about a lot of things. I wouldn't necessarily say that you're conservative in everything, because there are lots of people who are socially liberal and economically conservative and they choose to be Republicans, or vice versa. I think being a Republican means that you like tradition and you like to try to abide by traditions as much as possible. And I also think a lot of views that Republicans hold tend to be more practical rather than like idealistic, and I'm not saying that either is like bad. I just think that things tend to be more practical, not like wanting to live in some kind of utopia, just much more practical.
Would you call yourself a racist?
I would not call myself a racist.
I think that for the most part, a lot of Republicans aren't racist.
When you look at the people that are the front runners of the Republican Party, the people that are in the heads, the leadership positions, they do say things that can be misconstrued or that are actually explicitly racist or sexist or offensive. However, in principle, Republican and Libertarian ideologies are not supposed to include that. So don't mock the ideology, mock the people in power.
I don't think Republicans are racist at all. I think, in fact, many liberals have many beliefs, such as affirmative action, that I believe are even more racist.
Are you homophobic?
No, not at all.
No, if you go the hard right, yes, some of them will be, right? But as I said, there are many different factions inside the Republican Party, and we can't all be characterized as being homophobic.
I don't think that, as a whole, the entire Republican Party is homophobic.
I also don't really agree with that. My best friend is gay.
Do you think being a Republican has become sort of minority these days?
Yes.
Especially in the youth and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, very much so. I think that people are scared to identify with the Republican Party because of this, like, bad reputation that they have, especially given how liberal the media is.
Oh, I definitely agree.
Yeah, so I think definitely with millennials, it's sort of from this idea that every millennial is sort of being oppressed by the government, right? That they're in a sort of skewed system that's piled against them.
Well, yeah, I do think so, but I think as though like a lot of libertarian philosophy and ideology is being put on the back burner. Generally, there's like an ethos of painting the Republican Party libertarian philosophy as old, anachronistic, uncaring, unsympathetic, unempathetic.